Next we have cathodes, and this is sort of more like a do-it-yourself project. But basically a cathode is just a big, long, just a skinny, long line of light. So these are cool if you want that sort of thing, if you want like a big, long sort of plane of light just kind of going across your lightscape. These are perfect for that. Now, cathode lights are originally made to be put inside of computers to make them look cool, or to put them on cars or something. So usually they're not powered by batteries, but this is what makes it a do-it-yourself project. Here's the cathode light up close. You can see that both cathodes here are just attached to the stick using rubber bands. The one on the left is a UV light, which is actually very dim and it's not bright enough for light painting, so I wouldn't recommend it. The other one is blue. You can get these in different colors. The one I got is just blue and it's pretty bright and it works great. And they're attached to this inverter, and you can see that the inverter has two outputs. So right now the UV one isn't plugged in because I rarely use it, and it's just the blue one that's plugged in right now. The inverter is connected to the battery pack, which is connected to this 9-volt battery connector and the switch. And I'm going to show you how to make all of this stuff right now. So when you order the cathode light, you're going to want to get this brand called Logasys. Just type in cold cathode light Logasys into Google, and this is a pretty standard product. They even sell it inside of computer shops, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. And you can see they come in many different colors. There's blue, red, green, purple, yellow, white, UV, and then some mixed colors here. I would not recommend getting the UV one because it's very dim. Just get any of the other ones. When you get this package, you will be able to have the option to include the inverter. Definitely do that, because otherwise you really won't be able to plug it into anything. So just make sure when you're ordering it online that it says that this inverter is going to be included. The next thing that will be included in the package is this light. It may come with one or two of them. This particular package came with two lights. So we got the cathode, we got the inverter, and now there's one last thing that the package will include, and that is a bunch of wires. Now it may look complicated, but it's not. All you got to do is find the one with the red and black wire and simply cut it right about here, and then we will use that to plug in to the inverter, the side that only has one port. Then what we're going to do, once that's all plugged in there, we're going to go down to Radio Shack and we're going to buy a battery holder that holds 8 AA batteries, and then we're going to place a bunch of 8 1.5 volt batteries in this battery holder. That will add up to 12 volts, which is the voltage that this takes. Then you're going to want to get a 9-volt battery connector. This is so we can plug it into the battery pack, just like so. Just like that. And then you're also going to want to get a switch. Now there's all sorts of types of different switches. This is a push button switch. The one that I'm using on my setup right now is this simple toggle switch. The switch is up to you. Just get what you feel is most comfortable. Now once you have all this stuff, you're going to want to go back to your wire here, and you're going to see that there's the red one and the black one. So the red one is connected to one port inside of the switch, and the red one from the 9-volt battery connector is also connected to the switch on another port. And you're just going to need to get some wire strippers and a soldering gun to put this all together. And the black wire that's coming out here is, I stripped the wires and then twisted them up and then taped them up together with electrical tape. So that's what this is right here. The black wire coming from the inverter is connected to the black wire of the 9-volt battery connector. So if you look at it from a distance here, you can see the red wire is up to the switch, the black wire is hooked up to the 9-volt battery connector, and the red wire of the 9-volt battery connector is connected to the switch. And last but not least, once you got all that connected, you're going to want to just simply snap the 9-volt battery connector into place on the battery pack. Just like that. And then when you toggle the switch on, you will get light. Now, I would also recommend just getting some rubber bands and just tying all these wires together on the stick as well. And then once you got all that done, you have a homemade cathode light that can take 2 different cathodes if you got the inverter.
Alright, another cool thing you can do with cathodes is just get a white cathode, and then what you can do is get some colored gels and just tape those over the white cathode to change the color. And you can see in this picture I left some spacing between each of the gels, so there's a white line. If you wanted a black line, you could use electrical tape, or you could just use rubber bands and that will do the same thing. Now here is a result using that light that I just showed you. What I did is I put the camera on a tripod, I started taking the 10-second exposure, and then I grabbed an external flash unit in my hand and just flashed them a little bit to the right and to the front of the camera. I also used flash as my white balance on the camera. This makes it so that whenever you flash a subject with your flash, the color will be correct when you're using the flash. And anything that's not a flash, the color is just going to get warmed up a little bit. So you can see there was a tungsten light behind him, and that even got warmed up more than what it should have been. I liked it that warm though. In fact, I even made the overall picture a little bit warmer in Photoshop too. That's why his clothing isn't 100% perfectly white. It's a little tiny bit red if you look closely. While the model was remaining stationary, I took the cathode light in my hand and I just waved it around and walked behind him with the light on all the time. And he didn't move while I was moving behind him. That's very important. If he does move, you'll get a weird black silhouette around his body. And if he moves a lot, you'll be getting broken lines that were supposed to be created by the cathode, but because he was moving around and blocking the light, that light would never be able to get into the camera. One very last thing that you can do is to protect the cathode from breaking, because remember, these things are actually very delicate. If you smack them against something even just lightly, the cathode inside can break. So what I do is twist the cap off, and then I slide some PVC clear plastic aquarium tubing down the cathode. This just adds a little bit of extra padding, and it makes it so the cathode is not as breakable. If you're just waving these around in midair, they're probably not going to break, but you still have to be careful transporting them anyway. So if you're using these all the time, then you might as well get some plastic tubing just to put over the cathode. And then you can cut it and glue the cap back on. Here's one last quick example of the cathode. This was the blue one that I was using, and I just converted the picture to black and white later on the computer. And you can see how extremely smooth the light is. There is no unevenness or distortion or parts where the light is a little bit dimmer and parts where the light is a little bit brighter. It is completely smooth as milk. So that effect is very common when you're working with cathodes.